Today's episode of the WAC Podcast is brought to you by Hercules Tires, the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference. Now here are your hosts, Eric Danner and Rachel Vigil.
We're now joined by Steve Johnson, the Associate AD for Media Relations and Collegiate Licensing at Dixie State University. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Rachel. It's great to be on with you, and we're excited to be part of the Western Athletic Conference and can't wait to hopefully finally getting on the court or the field and show what the Trailblazers can do and what they bring to the conference.
Well, welcome to the WAC. We're excited to have Dixie State in. It's been a couple of years process here, so can't wait to see the Trailblazers out on the court. Now, you're new to the WAC, new to Division I, but not entirely new to a lot of schools in the WAC. Can you tell us about some built-in rivalries you might already have with some WAC schools, Steve?
Yeah, we're definitely fortunate to be able to join a league that has some familiar names in it. Obviously with Utah Valley, Grand Canyon, and California Baptist. Our fan bases will recognize those names from our past. With Utah Valley being a rival of ours from the junior college days, but also in our Division II era with Grand Canyon and with California Baptist. So I think that familiarity will benefit all four fan bases. To be honest with you. Being able to renew acquaintances with those three programs. Utah Valley was a long in-state rival of ours when we were in the junior college in all sports, especially with men's and women's basketball and baseball. Before UVU made the jump to Division I, I think it was 2003, and then they went on to go straight into the WAC and have had really good success. And then, we kept our eye on what Grand Canyon and California Baptist have done. They were rivals of ours in the old Pacific West Conference when we were all three Division II. And we had a lot of good battles between the Antelopes and the Lancers. And BYU Hawaii was another big rival of ours in that conference. Then, Grand Canyon obviously made their move to Division I. And then when BYU Hawaii dropped athletics outright, basically it was like perennially a two-team race for most of the Pac West Conference championships between us and California Baptist. We've had a lot of battles on the basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field, baseball diamonds, softball, you name it. It was Trailblazers and Lancers, and we've kind of kept an eye on what they've done in their first couple of years, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we're excited to join this league and to step in right away and renew acquaintances with those three programs.
We are very excited to have you all with us now in the conference. For Steve, what matchup are you looking forward to most in the WAC?
Oh, let's see. I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, some of my familiarity, I'm obviously familiar with those three I just mentioned. I knew of Chicago State when I was an SID at Southern Utah University up the road in Cedar City when they were in the Mid-Continent Conference, now the Summit League. And then I was kind of looking forward to UMKC or Missouri, Kansas City, but I knew about them when we were in the Mid-Con as well. For basketball, obviously, seeing what New Mexico State has done, I was fortunate enough to see them play in 2019 the NCAA tournament up in Salt Lake, and saw that how they came within an eyelash of knocking off Auburn, who ended up going to the Final Four that year. But having got to know the administrators at both UVU and at California Baptist, a lot of familiarity there. I know a lot of people that work at both institutions. We're just looking forward to bringing Division I athletics to St. George, and really looking forward to basically getting to know a lot of the new schools. And as I said earlier, renewing those rivalries with CBU and Grand Canyon, UVU. So it's gonna be fun. There's a lot of brand name coaches on for all those sports coming in, and so our fan base is gonna be seeing a great brand of athletics across the board when the WAC programs come to St. George to compete against us.
Talking with Steve Johnson, and let's get fans familiar a little bit with your men's basketball program, Steve. And John Judkins is your head coach. He's been there 16 seasons, so he's seen transition before. He has 285 career wins, and we saw this with Rick Croy a couple years ago at CBU, who stayed on as the coach in their transition to Division I. CBU has been one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league the past couple of years, and it seems like John is a possibly a similar resume in terms of he had a lot of success in Division II before going to Division I here.
Absolutely. Coach Judkins came on board just prior to the start of the 2005-06 season, which was our last year as a junior college, and stepped in right away, had a success in that one season. Then when we made our move to Division I, it was a tough sledding from the get-go, being able to put a schedule together. There was a lot of road games they fought through in that first season. But then once we got the Pacific West Conference, we were able to get home games and build up our competitive resume on that level. Our program just taken off. He did a great job in getting our program ready for Division II. As will be pointed out, as fans get to know our program, how many NCAA tournament appearances we've had, how many conference championships we've won. We got to the Sweet 16 one year, which in Division II, I mean, everybody looks at the Final Four as the ultimate diamond to get for the tournament play, but the Elite Eight at Division II is that equivalent. We came within a game one year of getting to the Elite Eight. So we've been lucky enough to have a lot of success here at Dixie State with Coach Judkins. And I mean, right, you talked about his 285 career wins. He's 14 wins shy of becoming the all-time winningest coach in Utah collegiate basketball history. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about both on men's and the women's side. You're talking with coaches like Dave Rose from BYU, Stu Morrill, who WAC fans will remember from Utah State, Rick Majerus when he was coaching at the University of Utah. They were in the WAC. Ronna Beglin from Weber State and other legendary coaches, both on the men's and women's side. And he's 14 wins away from passing legendary Utah coach Elaine Elliott, women's coach, who WAC fans may remember from when Utah was in the Western Athletic Conference. She had 583 career wins at her time at Utah. And Coach Judkins, between his time at Snow College and Dixie State, he's 14 wins away from becoming the all-time winningest coach in Utah collegiate basketball history. So, but if you were to ask him, obviously he would say that that all the accolades and that go to his assistant coaches and student athletes who basically put him in a position to enjoy that kind of success. And we've been very fortunate to have a lot of great student athletes have come through our program that have exceeded both not only on the court but in the classroom. And proof is in the pudding with what he's done over his tenure at Dixie State. And we look forward to having that continue as we move on to Division I.
Dixie has quite the home court advantage as well, going 135-29 at Burns Arena. What makes it such a special place to play for the Trailblazers?
Well, we're very fortunate. We have from a recruiting standpoint, we have one of the best basketball facilities in the state of Utah. And we're very proud of that. It holds just under 5,000 fans. And during our time of Division II, we've perennially been in the top 10 nationally in overall attendance and an average attendance. In fact, last year we finished runner-up in the entire NCAA Division II level for both home attendance total number and for average attendance. We have a loyal and a passionate fan base that follows this team. Our student body, when they get going at our games, it gives us a fantastic home court advantage with them. And our fans know that when they come to the Burns Arena for a basketball game, they're going to see one of the best programs in the state, and we play a great brand of basketball, and we're able to use that to our advantage. And obviously, 135 wins is something to behold, definitely in terms of having that home court advantage. And we can ask California Baptist and the Grand Canyon about that a little bit as well from our Coach Croy in particular, CBU, since he coached at Division II with CBU, to talk about what kind of an advantage it is for us when the opponents come to play at the Burns Arena.
Talking with Steve Johnson about Dixie State University, and last year's team, Steve, went 23-7. Would have gone to the NCAA Division II tournament. 4 starters come back from that team, but obviously transitioning to Division I, there's probably a fair number of incoming players as well. Any idea what that starting 5 might look like when Dixie State hits the floor for the first time this year?
Well, we got a healthy mix. Obviously, we've got 9 returning players, and we've got 9 newcomers coming in. So we got 18 players in camp right now. three or four of the players that we're looking forward to right away to continue what they do. Obviously, senior forward Hunter Schofield, he broke our single season scoring record for total points last year on his way to first team All MAC honors, All RMAC honors. He averaged 16 points, 6 rebounds a game, both overall and in conference play. And he's a player that can really score anywhere on the court. He can post up in the low block. He has a good mid-range game, and he had a couple of 3-pointers for us as well during the season. So he's a great. He's got a good mid-range touch, and he's definitely going to be one of our top players. Senior guard Dason Youngblood can do it all. He can play the point. He can play the 2. He's got a great mid-range jumper, and he can drive to the rim. And he's also a great defender. And he's a great passer, and he can rebound the basketball. He averaged almost close to 4.5 rebounds a game. So he's really good. Frank Stain, a sophomore guard forward, 6'6", has shooting touch that you can't believe. He's arguably our best shooter. He led our team in 3-point percentage last year. And when he gets going, he gets that touch going, he can really light it up. He started almost every game for us as a true freshman last year. In fact, his first 6 games, he scored in double figures. So that just tells you what kind of a talent he is, and we expect him to even bigger and better things for him as a sophomore this year. Senior forward Jared Green is another guy, 6'9" kid that it was a good compliment to Jared in the low post for us. So we got 4 great returners coming back that saw significant time and started for us, and it's gonna help us out with some newcomers that we got coming on that I can talk about as well.
That was my next question. All the faces are going to be new faces for WAC fans. However, for Dixie State, who are some new faces that you see making an impact on the court?
Well, we got a kid that has a little bit of experience with the WAC, a 6'7" freshman, redshirt freshman named Trevin Alfrey out of Copper Hills High School. He originally signed at Seattle U last year and was with the Red Hawks for the first half of the season before transferring to Dixie State. He'll be eligible to play just in time for WAC play in January. We have a 6'9" post player named Maggie Frazier, who originally signed out of East High School in Salt Lake with Boise State. He redshirted that 1 year Boise State before going to Garden City Community College out of Kansas. He's a big body. He can post down low. He can face up. He can also shoot the mid-range jumper, and he's got touch from 3-point country, so he's going to be able to spread the defense out a little bit for us. We have a pair of 6'6" wings and freshman Andre Mulabea and Ahmad Anil, who are athletic as all get out. I mean, I watch these guys in practice, and they get up and down the court. They can shoot from anywhere, and they get in, they rebound, they defend, and we got these kids for 4 years, and our fan base is going to love seeing these two guys play. We also have a couple of JUCO transfer point guards in Cameron Gooden from Kilgore College out in Texas and Brock Gilbert from Umpqua College in Oregon. Both can run the point really well. Both can distribute the basketball. They can penetrate. They can dish out to the wing, and they can score when they need to as well. One other player that we're hoping we may get to be able to see play this year, but definitely in 21-22 is a guard, Isaiah Pope, who was the California Collegiate Athletic Conference Freshman of the Year for D2 out of California while he was at Humboldt State. And he's got a great shooting touch. He's 6'6", and he's got a overall great body. He's athletic. And so for the next few years, we're going to be really fun to watch, and hopefully when we're on the road, the fan bases in the WAC will be able to see what type of basketball we play and hopefully put on a good show for them.
We talked a little bit about CBU and GCU being former rivals of Dixie State and the success they had transitioning from Division II to Division I. We saw just 2 years ago with CBU, first WAC game they played, they beat New Mexico State. Maybe catching them off guard just because, they didn't know what to expect out of CBU. GCU, similar, had a lot of success right out of the box in the WAC. Is that a model that Dixie can replicate?
Well, it goes without saying that we had our eye on what Grand Canyon did when they first made the jump. We kept an eye on them and what they did across the board in their programs. Obviously, from a basketball standpoint, what Thunder Dan Marley did with that program, getting them on the map. They got a brand new facility. You were seeing highlights of them on Sports Center. Their student body presence there for their home games has been outstanding, and they got some national recognition out of that. And obviously, what can you say about CBU? I mean, you mentioned their win over New Mexico State, but we knew that when we saw what their volleyball team did that first weekend when they were Division I. They went to like Mississippi State.
Right.
That term, they won 4 straight games, including knocking off Mississippi State out of the SEC. So we knew right there and then that they were on to something special in that first season. And you saw what they did. And obviously, some things they've done in soccer, basketball, baseball, softball, et cetera, et cetera. The Lancers have always had a good program. We've always been competitive with them, and seeing what they were able to do it was just outstanding, and gave us the confidence that we may be able to replicate that here. I mean, we look like, and feel like we have a lot of pieces here at Dixie State that we'll be able to enjoy that same type of success. I mean, we were fortunate to have, a great group of coaches that have been here for a while. They bring in great high caliber student athletes that come here, get the job done in the classroom, they get the job done on the court. Just to talk about what we do in the classroom. I mean, this past year we had a 3.385 cumulative GPA for an entire athletic department. That included football, which it was going to be an FCS independent, but having that and a 3.525 spring GPA across the board for our entire athletic department. So we bring in high caliber student athletes that not only compete on the field, on the court, but they compete in the classroom and they excel at what they do. And we just feel like we've got the piece in place that we can step in and do what we can do to let the WAC know that the Trailblazers are here and we're ready to compete. But circling back to basketball, I mean, you mentioned New Mexico State. We know that they're the class of the conference. I mean, like I said, I saw them up in Salt Lake at the NCAA tournament in 2019. I jokingly called Coach after the Wednesday open practice session. I said, I told Coach Jenkins jokingly, I said, Coach, I just got done watching New Mexico State, and here's what we're going to need to do to be able to compete with these guys in the next 2 years. And they went out, like I said, and they became within an eyelash of knocking off Auburn. And so we know what we're going to get into in this conference, and we can't wait to step up and perform and introduce ourselves to the rest of the league.
New Mexico State, absolutely a powerhouse here in the WAC, and we'll look forward to that matchup with Dixie. Steve, thank you so much for hopping on with us. We really appreciate all the information, and we're excited for the future.
Well, thank you. Again, we're excited to be a part of the WAC. Can't wait to work with you all, with Commissioner Hurd, Ron, Lockery, Dave, Hope, Chris, everybody else. You guys have been great to work with over the past year and a half or whatever it's been as we've been getting ready for this next step. And I wish we were playing right now with our fall sports, but I know hopefully we'll get that going in later in January and next spring. But we can't wait to make our debut and be a part of this league. We're very excited to be here, and we're happy and wish everybody else the best of luck. And thank you for having us on.
Thank you, Steve. And when we come back, we're going to talk women's basketball at Dixie State University with Keric Seegmiller. You're listening to the WAC Podcast.
We would like to thank our sponsors of the WAC Podcast, Hercules Tires and Adidas. Now, back to Eric and Rachel.
We're now talking Dixie State women's basketball with Keric Seegmiller, the assistant coordinator for media relations and radio play-by-play for the Trailblazers. Keric, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited. First of all, excited to finally have some sports to talk about this year, and with that start date out on the horizon, it's good to have that, and great to be on the WAC podcast today. So thanks for having me.
Well, Keric, we're very grateful to have you, and we're looking forward to some action as well. As you know, the WAC kind of is all over the place in the Western United States and all the way to Chicago and down to Edinburgh, Texas. So we ask each of our guests kind of at the beginning, how are things in your area? So how are things in St. George, Dixie State? Do you have students back on campus? Are student athletes back practicing? What's going on there, Dixie?
Yeah, things are great in St. George. We're fortunate, at least to this point. I want to keep my fingers crossed. The numbers have been lower in terms of the COVID cases and whatnot down in the southwest, portion of the state of Utah. And like I said, we'll keep our fingers crossed. We want to keep it that way so that we can be able to, keep our seasons and help be able to play basketball and have our spring seasons as well. But yeah, we do have students on campus. There's a variety of options available to them, whether they want to be full-time in class or at home on the computer, or a hybrid of the two. Some classes, depending on how frequent that class takes place and how many people are in the class, they have to do that hybrid version for, one day you're in class, the next day you're part of the group that is at home they're live streaming those classes. And so there's a variety of options for them there. But it's good. For the most part, it's been good. It's still sunny. We may have the pandemic going, but we still have the sunny St. George, and we're just starting to get to that time where it's not in the hundreds anymore. And we'll be able to go outside and really enjoy the weather outside all the time. But beautiful St. George. Excited to have the students back here on campus and doing their thing, and student athletes in team workouts as much as they can. It's been fun to hear the ball bouncing and see the players out in their fields of competition.
Another question we've asked every university is, what is the testing protocol looking like?
Yes, the testing protocol here, and I hope I don't misspeak. I know that they've been going weekly, sometimes up to 3 times weekly. I know I was tested. I helped produce a show called Trailblazer Weekly. We're not obviously weekly right now because we don't have games or anything to talk about, but because of the proximity that I would have with the student athletes, I'm being tested as well. And so, like I said, the frequency, I'm not sure, but they are being tested at least weekly.
Now, the NCAA came out a few weeks ago, said November 25th, the start date for competition for basketball, and everybody was high-fiving. But I know a lot of the basketball coaches and administrators at schools suddenly were scrambling because it cut off 2 weeks of their schedule, trying to figure out when they could play games and who they could play against. Any idea what Dixie State's schedule might be looking like women's basketball-wise November 25th?
Yeah, actually, it's starting to come together. They had a few games scheduled, pre-November 25th with a few NAIA schools. And to this point, we've got a couple contracts back, and they've been able to move those NAIA home games. One on the 25th with, at least as of right now, the way it sits, with Life Pacific and NAIA, and then another NAIA in St. Catherine. I think that's looked like it's going to be December 9th. But so they've been able to move those around. There's a handful of NAIA teams at home during this non-conference schedule, but some exciting games to look forward to in Division I level as well. You've got BYU actually coming down to the Burns Arena from Provo. Air Force, as the schedule stands today, will be here that first week of December as well. We'll have Portland State here in the Burns Arena in St. George as well, and then of course that long-awaited trip up to Cedar City and Southern Utah in December as well. So the women's basketball program has been fortunate to be able to, at this point, not really lose many games. If any, they've been able to shuffle those around, and what's looking like it's going to shape up to be a really fun non-conference portion of the schedule as well.
Non-conference looking good. Looking at conference, though, with you doing radio play-by-play, I want to know, what game are you looking forward to doing most in conference play?
I mean, in conference play, there's a couple of them. I've been here. This is my 6th year here full time. I made the trip with the men's team up to Utah Valley a couple of years ago for an exhibition for both teams, and our men's team hung in that game. They were winning at halftime actually, and it was a fun game there, fun atmosphere up in Orem. Looking forward to that in-state rivalry. Obviously, it's fun to have somebody in the state of Utah to be able to kind of go back and forth with. We had some battles with California Baptist when we were both in the Pac West as well. So I'm looking forward to those games, and I know Coach Gustin and his women's team is looking forward to they weren't able to beat Cal Baptist before the Cal Baptist left the league. There were some close games, but looking forward to that chance as well. And then Grand Canyon, they were in the Pac West as well, and I wasn't full time at the school yet, but I was writing for the school newspaper here and covering the basketball teams here at Dixie State when some of those matchups were taking place, and it'll be fun to have that kind of conference rivalry back as well.
Quick question. Did you attend Dixie then?
I did. Yeah, I did attend Dixie State from 2008 to 2012. I got my degree in mass communications. If I were a student today, my degree would be a media studies degree, as that has evolved to this point, but mass communications here at Dixie State.
Very nice. An alumni with us.
Yeah. Keric, we look forward to hearing your radio calls on the WAC Digital Network. And for fans who aren't familiar with Dixie State women's basketball and Coach J.D. Gustin, now in his 5th season, what style of play do the Trailblazers? Are they up and down? Do they slow it down? What kind of style of play are we going to see from Dixie State this year?
Yeah, Coach Gustin, since he's been here, he's been on record saying that, listen, I want to put a fun product out on the court. I don't want to bore anyone, when they come and watch our game. So you can expect to see a team offensively. Well, first it starts on the defensive end. They want to be very defensive minded, and you've seen this approach really start to take shape over the last few seasons as they've got, student athletes here that they have recruited. When Coach Gustin came here, he was hired in May. 5 years. This is his 5th season. He was hired in the month of May, and the team was kind of already put together, so that it was late to get his squad that he wants. So the last few years, he's been able to build the team as he's wanted it, and his assistants want it. And they want to start on the defensive end. It starts defensive minded, discipline, keeping your assignments, and then when that shot goes up, rebounding the ball, and then getting up the floor. They want to play with pace. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will score on the break, but they want to look to. If they can't, they'll pull it out. But, I wouldn't say they'll slow it down, though. You're going to see a lot of ball movement, a lot of getting teammates involved and sharing the basketball and being able to create that way. So I think you're going to see a style of play that is very active defensively, and then they'll fly up the court offensively. And, well, if they can score on the break, great. If not, let's get into that half court, but keep the ball moving, so that, we can find someone that's open to find a good shot.
Kelsey, Stevenson, and London Paplika, the 2 returning starters this year, how do they emerge as leaders?
Well, Kelsey's a 4-year senior, first of all, just the second to go through the program with Coach Gustin. Allie Franks was that first to come in the same year that Coach Gustin came in and play all 4 years here. Kelsey's the second now to do that, and she's been a staple of this program over these 4 years, and has been contributing on both ends since she was a freshman. Offensively, her shooting percentages have been hit or miss, but when she's on. So she's someone that when she's on the floor offensively, regardless of how she's been shooting to that point in the season, you have to keep an eye on her, because she'll go off and hit 5 or 6 threes on you on any given night. So you have to respect that shot offensively. And then she has emerged as a defensive leader over, her sophomore, but really last year, in the RMAC last year in D2 was, the coaches would say, she didn't win conference defensive player of the year, but if you talk to the coaches here, they feel like Kelsey Stevenson was the best defender in the league. Game in and game out was asked to guard, the best player on the opposing team, and did a heck of a job doing that. So in a very defensive-minded approach that they're taking, they're going to look to Kelsey to lead that charge. London Pavlica, on the other hand, she's been a player that, as a point guard that has come in. She's out of Las Vegas. And right from the get-go, this is her junior season, but right from the get-go in her freshman year, she came in and was one that you were just kind of holding your breath on, because you were waiting for another explosive play to happen. She is a very good ball handler, and she can get to the basket with ease and create her own shot. And so it's been really fun. Like you said, anytime she's handling the basketball, look out, because the fireworks could happen at any time. So that's the type of player that she's been. Over this last offseason, she's really been working on the jump shot and has really improved the jumper as well. So it's just another part of her game. She's not just going to try to cross over on you and get to the hole now. She's shooting the 3 a lot better. She's a good jump shooter. And so you just look at the top 2 returners that have been with this program for the last, 2, 3, 4 years, and you have leaders on both sides of the ball.
Keric, with just 2 starters coming back from last year's team, imagine with the transition to Division I, there's going to be a lot of transfers, a lot of new faces in the program. Have you been able to identify any key players, key newcomers who WAC fans should be familiar with?
Yeah. There's a couple. We call them the big 3, I guess, if you want. One of them, we have 3 here at Dixie State women's basketball, 3 Division I transfers, 1 from Long Beach State, 1 from Ole Miss, and 1 from just up the road in southern Utah. Bryn Parker from Ole Miss, we know that she will be redshirting this year. She won't be able to play. But the other 2, Shanasia Davison from Long Beach State and Hannah Robbins from southern Utah, we're waiting on a little bit of a waiver process on both of them. If they are able to both get on the court this year, watch out. They're very talented players. Shanasia Davison is really good with the basketball, really good scorer, led Long Beach State in scoring 2 out of the 3 years that she was there. Hannah Robbins is very versatile. She can shoot it. She can stretch it. She's a 4 or 5 player down low, but she can shoot it as well. So, waiting on some waivers for them. No guarantee that they will play, but if they do, watch out. Those are 2 players you're going to want to watch out for. Other than that, just 3 freshmen coming in, true freshmen coming in this year, which is kind of a breath of fresh air, actually, as they've been building the program, because there have been years where there have been, 4, 5, 6 freshmen on the squad, but just 3 this year. Brook Vance is one that you're going to want to keep an eye on. She's a freshman out of the state of Utah here that is kind of a 4 forward, but she can stretch it. She can shoot it as well. And from what I've understand, has looked, really good in these preseason workouts to this point. You've got a couple others. There's Bella Mosca, a freshman out of, let me just check it so I don't say it, Tucson, Arizona, a center that is really good down low, and she can shoot. She's got a good jump shot as well. So, kind of a name to look out there for as well. And then a junior college transfer and Matt Mooring, played 2 seasons at Snow College and should be a solid player as well.
Keric, well, thank you so much for all the insight. We look forward to seeing Dixie here in the WAC. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right, that is Keric Seegmiller from Dixie State University. Make sure to join us on Monday when we have Grand Canyon basketball in our preview spotlight. This is the WAC Podcast.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.